Okay. Welcome everyone and to the Board of Adjustment for the City of Bettendorf for March 9th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Springer, Hansi,
Here.
Tombergs.
Here.
Vermillion.
Here.
We got 4 out of 5, so we have a quorum. This is the Board of Adjustment for the City of Bettendorf. We are a body, normally 5 appointed individuals by the mayor, confirmed by the city council. Our job is to review certain special uses and variances that come before us. Normally, we're in a position to rule on those as they come before us. We go out and we look at the properties in advance. So, next item on the agenda is the review the minutes of February 9th, 2023. We have all received those electronically or in the mail. Do I have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
No.
Nope. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes then.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
Thank you. Second. I have a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion, or the minutes are therefore approved. The next item is the board to hold a public hearing on the following items. And it's my understanding we're gonna hold these together. Is that what you're planning on? Okay, so case 23008, which is the southeast corner of 53rd Avenue and Middle Road. It's a C2. It's a special use permit to allow a car wash associated with a convenience store. And it's submitted by Townsend Engineering. And the second item is case 23009. It's the southeast corner of 53rd Avenue and Middle Road, which is a C2 zone. It's a special use permit to allow a gas sales associated with a convenience store that is designed to include pump islands that will permit fuel of more than 8 vehicles at a time, and that's also submitted by Townsend Engineering. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As mentioned, case 23-008 and 23-009 will be presented together. The applicant, Townsend Engineering, representing Ryan Fick, Century Heights Limited Partners. The request is for a commonly known as gas station, which will have more than 4 pumps, specifically 10 pumps in this case, which can fuel up to 20 vehicles, and also 1 car wash. Both require special use permits before approved by this board. The location of the site is the southeast corner of 53rd Avenue and Middle Road, the roundabout. It's currently an undeveloped vacant site. The future land use for this area shows each corner in the neighborhood commercial land use. It's been designated as such for some time. Surrounding adjacent areas are medium density, urban medium intensity land use, and then further out, urban low intensity land uses. As mentioned, these corners have been designated as commercial future land uses since at least 1994. As shown here is the Bettendorf, Iowa 1994 future land use map. The pattern development has followed multiple iterations of the city's comp plan at this location, and to this day, each of the corners is vacant, but the surrounding properties have developed into medium density residential and then single family residential further out. The zoning location at this location is C2, that's community commercial, surrounded by R3 medium mixed residential. This zoning designation, these areas were rezoned in 1996. The residential was actually part of the C5 zoning district, which was removed or changed in a later iteration of the city code and designated as R3. The limited gas sales, so 4 pumps, 8 vehicles, are a permitted use in the C2 district. Anything more, a special use permit is required. Any car wash requires a special use permit in this district. So what's before this board is whether more than 4 pumps or 8 vehicles, and then any car wash can be permitted at this site. There is a related case, proposed final plat, which will be, has been submitted by the applicant and will be heard at the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The proposed plat shows 2 lots, one to the north, one to the south. The proposed gas station would be on the northern lot, so facing 53rd Avenue for a front yard, and then a smaller area facing Middle Road. The Century Heights 9th Edition, which is the adjacent residential development, this was platted in 1999, and most of the houses were built in the early 2000s. This is, as mentioned, a medium-density residential with villa-style duplexes. At the time, the subdivision was developed and platted with an additional 50-foot landscape buffer, and you can see that here. That landscape buffer includes a berm, earth berm, evergreen trees, and a fence, which are currently existing. The original concept submitted and that was shared as part of the notices showed the gas pumps situated to the west side facing Middle Road and the car wash facing the east side. An updated concept was shared at the February 28th neighborhood meeting that was held by the applicant. So many of the members, neighborhood members saw that concept. That concept shows the gas pumps facing the east side and the car wash facing the west side. Access is shown via a curb cut onto 53rd Avenue. This aligns with the curb cut to the north, which accesses undeveloped commercial land. Additional access is shown is provided via the southern lot via an access easement and then a curb cut connecting to Middle Road shown here. This concept, this is just a concept, as mentioned, this would have to go through future site development plans, which would go through the Planning and Zoning Commission and then voted on and approved by council. But this concept also shows over 160-foot separation between the rear lot line and the rear lot line of the adjacent subdivision and the gas pump shown here, that's without the landscape buffer. If you add that 50 feet in, you're looking at over 210 feet separation. They also show additional screening or landscaping on the west side of that fence line. The main convenience store would be located to the farther west, so your traffic flow would be some right-in traffic or left-in from the eastern 53rd Avenue. But I'm guessing most of the traffic would be flowing from this intersection. The alternative would be to right in and right out from Middle Road. Some site photos, some site from Google, kind of show what is at the site right now. The upper image shows a street view looking south from 53rd Avenue. You can see the fence and the trees. The lower image is actually the lower image is from 2008 of the same site, and that's probably 5 years after the berm was completed. So those trees were just planted. You can see how much those trees have matured and grown out. In addition, there was some streetscaping added, so there's trees along 53rd as of today. This view is from the intersection of 53rd and Middle, the roundabout. The upper image is from 2001, and the lower image is from 2008, just kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. And again, you can see the houses in the lower image when the trees are planted, but now you barely can see the houses. The trees have really filled in. The applicant has submitted a letter requesting the reversal of the previous decisions made by the Board of Adjustment. So these cases were heard at the September meeting, I believe, in regards to a similar development for a gas station of more than 4 pumps on a C2 property, the northwest corner of 53rd and Middle, pending the approval of this case. Given this submittal, staff contends that one gas station at this location, given the neighborhood, community, commercial, future land use designation, is consistent with the comp plan. Two large gas stations at this area would probably bring in a larger market, which is more of a regional commercial. So this is very consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, the future land use at this site. Staff would recommend, pending approval of this case, that the board take action at a future meeting to reverse the previous decisions for the special use permits that were approved in September at the northwest corner. So those are cases 22-066 and 22-067. Every special use permit that's heard before this board needs to meet 9 criteria. Those criteria were summarized through my presentation, but I'll go through them really quick. This is both special uses. The car wash and the gas station, the increase in pumps, are allowed in the targeted district as a special use, and that appears to be that will comply with the zoning regulations. The size and character and the harmony for the targeted district, staff contends this development is sufficiently buffered, as shown by the trees, the landscape buffer, separation, and that the additional 6 pumps, so the applicant is requesting 10 pumps, would be addressed by those buffering, setback berms, and screening. Number 4, does the special use unreasonably hinder or discourage development in the target district? No, this development should encourage surrounding commercial development, as noted in the northwest, northeast, and even the southwest corner, and while also not hindering development in the surrounding transitional zoning districts, which are medium density residential. Parking has been deemed as adequate with the information presented right now, but that will further be reviewed at a site development plan. And then the number 6, will this proposed use cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood? Staff has found no fact-based findings that the proposed use will cause significant or substantial decreases to property values in the neighborhood based on similar developments in the region and throughout the city. This case has not been reviewed and denied by the Board of Adjustment, meets that criteria. And are there any conditions the board should impose to ensure the special use is in compliance with the standards above to minimize negative externalities? And staff, again, would recommend, per the applicant's request and to be consistent with the future land use at this area, to reverse decisions, case 2266 and 2267, pending approval of this case. Is the proposed use consistent with the comprehensive plan? Yes, the development supports following comprehensive goals of attract and retain business. The proposal is also consistent with the neighborhood commercial development, providing amenities to adjacent neighborhoods. So I'll give a staff recommendation for the first case, which is 23008. That's the car wash. Staff contends this meets all the required standards as provided, and thus recommends approval of the special use permit to allow car wash associated with the convenience store, with the following condition: to reverse those 2 cases from September, 2266 and 67, or 2266 for this case. And then for case number 23-009, staff contends that it also meets all those required standards, and would recommend approval of a special use permit to allow up to 10 pumps, so 20 vehicle fueling area stations, associated with the convenience store for proposed Lot 1 of Legacy Corner Southeast, with the same condition to reverse the previous case at the northwest corner. I can take any questions.
I have one. Which plan are you see 2 different locations of those pumps. You see it on the east side of the old one, the first time we seen it. And then the letter you sent us shows it on the west side. The pumps.
That is correct. So I have the original concept shown here, with the pumps on the west side and the pumps on the east side. In fact, the pumps on the east.
Which one is it gonna be?
This is just the concept, so to remind the board, what's before the board is the increase of 4 pumps to 10 pumps for the number of gas pumps. The second special use permit is the allowance of a car wash this site.
That's right.
Site development plans will be reviewed by the planning commission, and at that time, exact details will be reviewed.
Yeah, at this time, there's the exact details of the development are not present, not at issue. We don't know what they're gonna be. That's not one of the things that's before this board. So at this point, I would ask if there's any questions from the commission to the staff, and then we'll get to the public in a minute. So do you have any questions at all?
The only one I was looking at was, I know that 53rd is obviously probably the most used entrance proposed, from what we know. Would somebody be able to go right or left out of that entrance?
As proposed right now, but as I said, that hasn't really been, that's shown right now, it's an in and out entrance, yes, left or right, correct.
Right.
Taylor, if you know, when did the city enact the 4-pump limit for this zoning district?
So from my research, a special use permit for gas pumps associated with convenience store has existed in the city, in the C2 district, has existed since at least 1997.
Okay.
The 4-pump, so allow the permitted use for 4 pumps, which I will note, there hasn't been a lot of development or any from I can recall recently for a 4-pump gas station. That I believe was enacted in the 2017 zoning ordinance. So they had a limited gas and an unlimited gas, kind of two separated categories for gas. But the C2 is always allowed for at least a special use permit to allow gas pumps associated with the convenience store. And this has been C2 district since it was rezoned in 1996.
Great, thank you.
I note that the future land use designation is neighborhood commercial. I don't know if you can, but what's the difference between neighborhood commercial and community or regional commercial area, which seems to be the opposite of neighborhood commercial?
So your community commercial areas are going to be located, well, the exact definition uses the words regional attraction for, say, commercial uses that would attract different types of businesses from a whole city, or even the market share would be from maybe the whole region. While your neighborhood commercial, they're going to be at the targeted adjacent neighborhoods. So if you had one gas station for the whole city, that would be like a regional gas station, I guess, and multiple for targeted separate areas of the city.
And it's your recommendation that if this gets approved, that we reverse the prior decision on the other corner?
Correct. So having one, and that would not restrict someone in the future, and this is reflecting on the pattern of development that has occurred at this area. So looking at the pattern of development right now and having the current future land use, which could change in the future with an amendment, new comp plans, but as of right now, one gas station of 10 pumps, so more than 4 pumps. If you have gas stations on every corner, you're going to kind of create more of that regional. It's going to be pulling in people from not just one neighborhood, but from all over town, and that's the distinction I'm trying to make. Yeah.
So in order for it to maintain itself as a neighborhood commercial, there would only be one gas station on all the 4 corners.
Can you reword that?
Probably that wasn't the best.
Only one in that 4-corner region.
One in total would
To be a neighborhood thing.
To maintain the status of neighborhood
The
commercial,
character-
there would not be multiple gas stations.
And I want to be careful with those words. This is a unlimited, or as Boardman Tansey mentioned, there's limited gas and unlimited gas. So a permitted use is a 4-pump gas station. But staff does note those have not come up recently, and I think most of can agree it's not trending as far as what we're seeing for development.
Years. No.
Yes.
But the city isn't looking to fill those 4 corners with gas stations because it sees it as a regional hub, sort of a
Correct, so,
That you're trying to maintain this as neighborhood or?
Correct, exactly,
Okay, so
yes.
one gas station is probably,
of more than 4 pumps, correct?
Right.
Yes.
okay.
And just as an aside, you're proposing that we reverse our earlier decision. Is there a standard for that, or is that only because the applicant is making, would be forced to make that recommendation?
The standard, I mean, from code, the board does have the power to reverse decisions, so that's in code, reverse decisions of appeals to the zoning administrator, or from previous decisions. That's implemented in code for maybe a special use permit was permitted and things did not go as planned. There's all different types of situations for that. The applicant has submitted that. If there was both gas stations on the table, that we have the power here to kind of control our future land use and keep it consistent with the comp plan, and that's what staff's recommending.
But we don't have to get rid of the earlier approval in order to approve this one if we don't think that there should be two? I mean, we're kind of
Yeah.
backwards, it seems
Mr.
like.
Chairman, can I jump in? Just
Sure,
kind
go
of want
ahead.
to clarify staff's
Sure.
perspective on this case, because we had a similar case recently that you ruled on. And we think that in a neighborhood commercial development that has 4 corners such as this, that one, I'm gonna use the term large gas station, that one large gas station fits within neighborhood. You get more than one large gas station, I'm using my own terminology here. You get more than one large gas station, we don't think that fits. So what we're recommending you do is approve one large gas station and then at a later date, reverse your decision for the other large gas station that was previously approved. And the exact order of that, we think, should be done. You approve this one tonight, set a meeting, or set it on the schedule for your next meeting to reverse that other one, and we have a letter from the developer to that point agreeing that that should happen as well.
But you don't believe it can happen simultaneously, or should happen simultaneously?
I think our council would say, I'll let them speak for yourself, that we do 2 separate actions. Now, I don't know if we can do them both tonight or not, because they're not both on the docket.
They're not on agenda tonight.
Yeah, they're not agenda items.
That's right, but it is a condition. It is a condition on this matter that is on the agenda, that a condition of that is that the previously approved special use permit be reversed at the next meeting. And it is within the board's power to reverse a previous decision, as Taylor mentioned. And here, we have a request from the previous applicant and the present applicant here to reverse the earlier approved special use permit. So
So if they came back and said, no, we still want to do this, we would still have the power to say no.
that's right.
Your decision tonight can be conditioned on your future decision occurring.
Right, okay.
So because it wasn't on the agenda, we shouldn't,
That's correct.
Yeah, you can make it a condition, but I guess maybe you can't vote on that condition. You have to
But I
then
think,
come back
but
and do it.
substantively, I think it's getting to where staff recommends you go, which is to have one large gas station on these 4 corners. And as Taylor said, it doesn't prevent a small gas station, and it doesn't prevent somebody from making a future application for a special use permit. This isn't binding anybody in any way, other than it's just conditioning this particular application on the reversal of the previous special use permit.
great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, if not, then what I would like is that people who want to address us go to the podium in the back, because there's a microphone back there. And you can certainly address us and give us your thoughts on this application. I would say there's an awful lot of people here, which is fine, and I'm happy, happy to see that. Excuse me, lose my voice. But try not to be overly redundant in what you have to say. We'll try to listen attentively to your comments. And first of all, I would like to ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application. If so, I'd ask you to go to the podium in the back. Please state your name and proceed. Thank you.
I'm Ryan Fick with Mel Foster Company, on behalf of Quick Trip, Inc. We will ultimately be the purchaser if these get approved and if we're able to work through the deal. To start out with the original special use we had on the northwest corner, we agree with the city and we agree with the staff that there should not be multiple gas stations on this corner. We are not the operator. We are not going to be the owner of it. We were approached on the northwest corner. That was the interest from an operator. We were not able to come to final terms on that during the deal. We kept that, and then we were approached by Quick Trip here on the southeast corner. So when they came to us on the southeast corner, our first thought was, well, we'll drop the one on the northwest corner because we agree. We don't think there should be gas stations at each corner here. To some of the information that Taylor talked about, and it might be a little bit redundant, so I apologize. Prior to developing Century Heights 9th Edition, which is the Red Fox Road there and the condos that are all along there, this property was zoned C2, so it was in that 94 range. The final plat was signed for Century Heights 9th in 99, and it was developed in 2000. Knowing that the southeast corner was zone C2, my dad wanted to make sure that anyone who was interested in the 9th edition was fully aware of the C2 zoning, as some people might not want to back up to commercial. So what he did was on the plat, he referenced that the southeast corner was zone C2. In addition to that, he added it to the covenants, and the exact wording in the covenants reads, each owner understands and acknowledges that they are aware that the real estate located generally north and west of lots 1 through 16 inclusive are zoned C2 shopping district. Each owner should familiarize themselves with the permitted uses, this zoning classification as outlined in section 15.2 of the zoning ordinance for the city of Bettendorf. In addition to that, he made an agreement with the mayor at the time, Mayor Hutchinson, that on all of the signage around there, all of the marketing signs, he would have the wording, something referencing commercial. And if you'll notice, even in his photo, I think did you talk 2001 was one of them on the top there?
2021 and then 2008, yeah.
2008. So you see the signage that has been there from the onset, and now we have them on every sign that says prime commercial corner, just so that everyone is aware of the future use. On top of that, where we understood, we're mostly a residential developer, and we developed a lot of the neighborhoods around there. Rooftops ultimately bring commercial, and that's what we've done, and we've left the green space there at the roundabout, which is intended to be commercial use. So where we knew, ultimately my dad knew that he wouldn't have control of the screening done by whomever ultimately developed the corner, he wanted to ensure that something was in place to protect the privacy of those lot owners that were backing up to that commercial corner. Some of those things were discussed earlier, but if you look at those lots, they are extremely deep lots and deeper than most you would see in this type of development. The other thing he did was add that 50-foot landscape easement and then put a berm in there. And then on top of that, he planted the pine trees all along there, and a fence was installed. To protect that screening and to protect that from the commercial, what he then did was put that whole landscape easement into an association that would be maintained by those residents. That way, it was maintained to their full satisfaction. Any improvements, anything they could do, and they had control over that. And to that, it reads, in the rear yards of lot 1 through 16 inclusive exists a 50-foot buffer yard and landscape berm. This berm is to be maintained by the association at a height which undulates between 5 and 6 feet. In addition, a minimum of 3 coniferous trees with a minimum caliper of 2 inches and 6 shrubs shall be planted and maintained by the association on each lot. So again, knowing that he wasn't sure if he'd have any control over the ultimate developer of that commercial, he did everything he could to protect those residents, as well as inform those residents that it is C2 commercial zoning. We feel the proposed purchaser, Quick Trip Inc., fits with our vision on one of the corners to have a gas station C-store to serve those areas from a convenience standpoint and a gas station. We think that their reputation, quality building materials, and their professionally ran operation are all things that fit within that neighborhood. And we feel that the special use will not have a greater impact on those residents than that of a 4-pump gas station with 8 cars fueling. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of the application? I don't see any, so anyone who would like to speak opposed to it, again, please state your name and go to the back and talk into the microphone. Thank you.
Gotta go to the mic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Burrich. I live at 5276 Red Fox Road. Obviously, I'm a resident of the village of Century Heights 1. My voice is a little gravelly, so hopefully bear with me. And I've got this, we've got this prepared from the board. We've got copies for everyone here. Dear members of the Bettendorf Board of Adjustments, the village of Century Heights 1 consists of 38 homeowners immediately adjacent to the proposed commercial development on the southeast corner of Middle Road and 53rd Avenue. We are writing you in regards to the request for a special use permit, case 23-008 and 23-009, that will allow for a car wash, convenience store, gas pump islands, capable of fueling more than 8 vehicles at a time for that project. As you are aware, Section 11-15-9 of the City Code stipulates that 9 conditions be met for the board to grant the special use permit. We believe that conditions 3, 5, and 6 do not meet the criteria. Condition number 3 of the standard state: the location and size of the proposed use, the nature and intensity of the operation involved in or conducted in the connection with it, and the size of the site in relation to it, and the location of the size with respect to streets giving access to it are such that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district in which it is located. We'd like to say that this proposed convenience store of 10,000 square feet will be the largest store of its kind built in this city. The proposal sets a precedent in Bettendorf, which has never allowed a convenience store of this size and scope to be built immediately adjacent to a residential neighborhood. The city has always ensured that residential property is buffered from large commercial developments in mixed-use areas. The buffer typically includes smaller commercial properties and city thoroughfares. The berm, fence, and trees on our property were intended to buffer the neighborhood from a small commercial development consistent with how the property is currently zoned. That project cannot be harmoniously integrated into our residential area. Therefore, the association contends that condition number 3 to allow a special use permit has not been met. And I think I'd also like to add on this that when the other one was approved, it was not for a convenience store of 10,000 square feet. It was for a considerably smaller convenience store. I don't see this as being a local residential draw. you don't come in here with the size of this and the scope of this type of store and expect that you're only gonna draw from the neighborhood. I just don't see this as being somewhere where you come and grab a candy bar and a soda and you leave. I mean, this place, I'm sure, is going to have a full kitchen, every other amenities, as say a Quick Trip does, but even then some. So that was just our thought on that. Now, condition number 5 of the standard states, parking areas will be of adequate size for the particular use, properly located and suitably screened for adjoining uses, and the entrance and exit drives will be laid out so as to prevent traffic hazards and a nuisance. We are all aware of the heavy traffic associated with large convenience stores. The roundabout at 53rd Avenue and Middle Road is already at capacity during morning and evening commutes. A development of this size is not safe given the current infrastructure of the roundabout. The additional traffic with entrance and exit drives so close to the roundabout will create hazards and a nuisance in the area. The entrances and exit drives of the proposed store also cross a popular recreational path. The heavy traffic crossing basically the Bettendorf recreational path will pose as an increased hazard to pedestrians and bikers. Therefore, the association contends that the condition number 5 to allow special use permit has not been met. And the other thing we'd like to add on this is that it's our understanding that the roundabout is in a 5-year plan to be enlarged at some point and modified. And if that's true, I assume that's going to be with modifications to Middle Road and 53rd Avenue. At that point, why on earth would we want to put something of this size and scope there now and then go through that 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road when it's just going to create more problems, more traffic problems? You're going to have to close it down at some point. So I would have to think that in its own right is going to be a severe problem at that stage. The last condition, number 6 of the standard state, the proposed use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood. Studies regarding the impact of commercial property development on residential home values are mixed. Multiple factors affect the housing prices. To be certain, commercial property can significantly impact the value of nearby homes. Whether or not home prices rise or fall due to commercial property depends on many variables. This includes the size of the property and the amount of traffic it generates. The noise pollution of the car wash alone will certainly have a negative impact on the value of adjacent homes. Using generalized examples of similar developments in the region to imply that this project will not have an impact on the value of adjacent property does not satisfy the condition. Therefore, the association contends that number 6 to allow a special use permit has not been met. The association understands and supports the city's efforts to promote commercial development. We are not opposed to responsible commercial development on the adjacent lots. Other lots in the area are appropriate for this type of development. A special use permit was granted for the project on the northwest corner of 53rd and Middle Road. The residential area on that corner has a city street as a buffer. The lot also has space to configure the exit and entrance drives in a way that minimizes roundabout traffic hazards. Commercial development of this size cannot be harmoniously integrated into the neighborhood. It will create vehicular and pedestrian hazards that will cause substantial injury to the property values of our homes. We respectfully request that the board deny this special use permit. This is from the Board of Directors of the Villas at Century Heights 1 Homeowners Association.
Thank you.
I don't know if you've gotten these yet, but
Yeah, we do actually. They were handed out before you got here, I think, but yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It really wasn't in the 9 points, and maybe this is for another meeting, but we were told pre-COVID by our council member at the time, who's now in Des Moines, that would probably never be developed out there by anything substantial because there was drainage problems on that lot. We've kind of inquired about that when we were at the first meeting, and we kind of didn't get an answer about, they said, well, another board will look at that. I just want to know when that will be taken into consideration.
I can answer that question.
No.
So,
Why
as
don't you
mentioned,
state your, I don't think you stated your name for the record, would you please?
Wallace Fairfield,
Thank-
5169 Red Fox Road.
Perfect, thank
I'm
you.
president of the HOA.
Thank you.
as mentioned, the proposed, so the plat, it will be heard before the Planning and Zoning Commission, so the plat will subdivide the current unplatted land, which is where the proposed gas station is. The plat's on the screen, and you can see the, it's kind of hard to see, but the dotted line here shows easements. Those are stormwater or I believe just stormwater easements. So development could not occur in those, in that designation. There's, I believe, a detention area and stormwater pipes. So I think that's what the gentleman's referring to.
Well, we really don't know because you stated that these plans aren't really finalized yet. But you get your proposed thing on those drawings, it's awful close to, I suppose, that big corner there that's about, what, 5 feet deep? The big dip in that corner? Was it 5 feet drop? 4? 7 feet drop? You're kind of encroaching close to the start of that slant on both those other proposed entries into that property. Now, are you cutting down on that? I assume is that an SAS thing? Is that what it is? It's on the corner of all these properties?
So all of the engineering, the site planning, as we call it, there's a lot that goes into that. Grading, that is reviewed at site plan and plating phases. Before this board, we're looking at a very
Okay.
fuzzy concept in a way of just the gas.
Our question is, when will that be discussed?
So the plating portion, which subdivides the land, is at the March 15th Planning and Zoning Commission. And if approved, that are recommended for approval, would move on to the next, a future city council meeting. After that, they would still have to be a site plan, which would go again to the Planning and Zoning Commission at a future date and then approved by a future city council meeting.
So, Mr. Chairman, may I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Bestwick's trying to give the audience some understanding of process here. And I think those are very fair questions for people to understand what is the process the government takes to review a project this. So if it would, at your pleasure, I'd like to kind of go over that process. I think would be informative.
That's fine, it'd be very helpful, I think. Go ahead.
So it is very confusing when you see drawings and you wonder, is that the final plan or not? And I think that is a fair thing for people to wonder about. So right now, we have an area that is zoned commercial. Commercial use is allowed to be there. And a gas station, I'm going to call it small gas station, just to use a simple term, a small gas station is allowed to be there. The Board of Adjustment's job in this case is to say, could we allow a large gas station? Because a large gas station is allowed by special use or by permission of this board. They are the final decision maker on that use. They are not the final decision maker on how that use actually gets built, planned out, laid out, engineered. That is not their job. They just say yes or no to the use. And Taylor used the term kind of fuzzy plan, right? Because the plan, they're not going to detail out all of the plan if they don't get the use. They're not going to pay the engineers to do all that work. So that's where we're at today. Should this board approve that use, then the developer and their team have to put pen to paper and engineer the plans and what's called a site development plan. The site development plan gets reviewed by staff, and we make comments on it. That includes city planners, city engineers, our legal team, and then we also have it reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is a different board than this. The Planning and Zoning Commission is not a final body. They are a reviewing body, and they'll make a recommendation, should it come to them, up or down, on a site development plan. And that's a good time to ask questions about buffering, spacing, height, light, noise, sound, smell. Though that board can address those questions, this board really, I'm gonna say, isn't allowed to. That may not be 100% right, but in a way, they're not allowed to. So we're happy to try and ponder those questions a little bit here today, but they're not really in the purview of this decision that's being made.
Well,
Just one second. I appreciate your comments, sir. I just want to try to get this out of my brain before I lose it. And then after Planning and Zoning Commission, then City Council would review and approve any final site development plan. That would be at City Council. And there's a meeting scheduled for all those, but without sitting here reading off dates, you probably got 60 days, 90 days to get through all of that. Am I close?
More, actually.
Maybe a little more than that, to get through all those readings and staff time for them to do their review. So it's very fair and understandable that you have questions about site-specific stuff, and we can kind of try to, I don't want to guess, but there's only so much we can talk about because we don't really know yet because it hasn't been engineered yet. They got to get this. They, being the developer, have to get this permission to do a bigger gas station, a large gas station first, before they're going to have all that wired out, if you will.
yeah, I understand that this board, what their duty is on this. And I guess the thing is we were told at the first of the notification meeting by the engineer and the developer that there would be another meeting next Wednesday. Now, what is that meeting about?
That's the plan and zone for approving this plat.
Yep. So that's the subdivision of property. That is yet another step in this very
Okay,
bureaucratic
what-
process.
So what do they go over at that one? See, we get these letters that say we're gonna have a meeting 5 days, and we get,
Yep, fair.
these-
I understand. Yep. So
at least
so,
me personally, at my age, don't understand that little black dot there,
yeah,
that in there lies 50 pages of stuff,
I agree.
And so at that meeting next Wednesday, what happens there?
Yes, sir. Great
Specific-
question, because I did not cover that in my little expose I just did. So that meeting is about the subdividing of land. So if you want to develop property and create new property lines, you have to legally subdivide that land within state law. That process, while it's related to, is not part of the decision that's made here tonight. So the Planning and Zoning Commission, not this board, looks at subdivisions and says, do the subdivisions meet our legal requirements for the way we are allowed to divide up property? Not about use, not about what's going to go on it, just how we divide it up. Because we want lots to be of certain types and shapes that make sense and can be buildable, that type of thing. So that is the meeting next week. It's not going to be about the use, it's going to be about the subdividing of land, the legal boundaries that define property.
Is it something that somebody from our HOA should attend?
Yes, sir, and you would have the ability to
We've
speak.
been notified.
Yeah, and you'd have the ability to speak, just like you here tonight, and you could raise concerns. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hello,
State your
my name
and
is
hello.
Pastor Elaine Olson. I live at 5296 Red Fox Road. My back deck would face the gas station. I guess my primarily want to speak to number 3, where we talk about harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the area. As you can see, many of us are sitting in this room and gathered who bought property on this land as in the condo with the good faith understanding that yes, we were backed up to commercial land. And yes, we understood that a 4-pump gas station could be created there. When we bought our land, we did not foresee that there could be a variance that would make that 2.5 times greater, from 4 pumps to 10, and then you add a convenience store and you add a car wash. As a citizen of Bettendorf, and living with the good faith of understanding that Bettendorf is a community that affirms its citizens and affirms its neighborhood and wants to build this kind of neighborly neighborhood commercial property, we understood in our buying the land that that was what would be there. There seems to be a major shift happening under our feet if a variance, increasing this by 2.5 times, is now approved by the board. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Go ahead, we're happy to listen. Oh, there you go.
Ann Ambrosi, 5258. We are also going to be having headlights coming right into our bedroom, the way things are coming. I understand that Ryan talks about the berm and the trees. That, to me, helped sell those condos so that we weren't all looking at the traffic on Middle Road. So there was a benefit to those going up when his dad put those up. It helped sell those properties because who wanted to buy them if they were just flat there looking across the field at the traffic on Middle Road? So there was already a purpose for that to be there. This distance to this property that he's talking about, yes, it's further than what you were looking at on the other corner. But this is not going to shelter any of the headlights. It's not going to shelter the lights over all of those pumps. It's not going to stop any of the noise. And I understand that. It's a business deal. I mean, it's good for Bettendorf tax coming into Bettendorf, but we were all misled. We could have handled a 4-pump gas station. They're not gonna have all the things that this thing would have. So we bought it, and we could live in other cities where we weren't paying such high taxes as we do in Bettendorf and have the rug pulled out from under us like this is going to be. So this is why I'm thinking, here we are, you guys have the choice tonight. So the next meeting really won't matter if you approve this tonight, is my understanding. Is that right? I mean,
No, in fairness, that's not right. In other words, this is the very first hoop, so to speak. And the location of the building and the ingress and egress and issues with lighting and issues that you're talking about will come up at a later date with the site plan and throughout this process.
but it will already be approved. Otherwise,
No.
there won't be another meeting. If this is not approved tonight, which is what we're here trying to keep you guys from doing by stating our concerns and stating how it's not right according to what's already laid out, we're just coming to say, gee, I hope they shine the lights down, and gee, I hope the car wash isn't too loud, and the talking pumps that go all day long, and the people that pull up with their, stereos bumping all day, well, it's just a noise ordinance in Bettendorf, so what? You gotta put up with it. Well, when we paid to buy those properties, I was all for it. I understood there could be a small gas station there, as did everybody else. And the berm and the trees didn't make any difference about that. It helped shelter Middle Road and it helped shelter the roundabout. So that's where we're at there. If we don't stop you from approving this tonight, changing this, the next one's all gonna be about what can we do to make what has happened better. Well, I don't know what in the world could stop that sound from us being out on our decks and out in our backyards. And I think it's just a business arrangement, and we're just taxpayers. That's where we all kind of feel we're at right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Mike Davis, 5273 Red Fox Road. The word I haven't heard yet tonight is safety. And when you consider the number of cars that are going to be coming in and out of the station and crossing the bike path every time they do, I see that as a big concern. And I would like to ask that the board take that into consideration before they make their final decision. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lois Boyer. I'm at 5275 Red Fox Road. I'd just like to say something rather anecdotal, I suppose. When my husband and I moved into the condo, a family member was a civil engineer that helped build the roundabout. And he looked at us and said, well, one good thing, you'll never have a gas station here. Because it wasn't, he knew even then, building a roundabout, it is not safe without lights and things to have this type of traffic on the road. I would encourage that research is really done whether this is appropriate for a roundabout area. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dina Manta, and I live at 5237 Red Fox Road, which is across from those that are going to be facing the gas station. I wrote this letter. I sent it to the City Hall as well as to Mr. Townsend, and so I'm just going to read it. I'm writing this in opposition about the proposal of yet another gas station, and this one on the corner of the southeast corner of Middle Road and 53rd. I'm sorry that I could not have been present at the other meeting at the fire station on February 28th, and I hope to oppose that proposal at that time. Number one, another gas station with the addition of what you said originally was 4 pumps, now 10 pumps, is not needed, and a car wash is not needed. We have so many car washes now, and there are already too many gas stations nearby. On Middle Road, we have a Hy-Vee gas station, we have the Shell station, we have the BP station. We have the Quick Star on 53rd Street, plus other gas stations all along, up and down 53rd. Down by the sports complex, there's another Quick Star, which is what you're proposing to have another Quick Star by us. We don't need to have to go very far to go to the Quick Star and to go to the convenience store that is there, along with all the convenience stores and the grocery stores that are right there on 53rd Street. The Shell station on Middle Road in Devil's Glen is another one down the hill from there. Hy-Vee station on Middle Road, Devil's Glen, the BP station. Number 3, the traffic, which already is heavy on 53rd, would bring even more traffic to our area, which is already becoming very congested with apartments, condos, new homes, the Summit, the physical therapy there, huge car wash, again, that's down the road, and plenty of restaurants. Number 4, I said that it would affect our property value, and you say that it will not affect our property value, and I would say that completely the opposite. Living across from a huge complex that you're proposing, with the fumes, with the traffic, and the possibility of more crime in the area, home insurance would increase. The sale of our properties would decrease. the hazards which also cause many health hazards for, if you notice, the majority of us in that area are senior citizens. And it would be dangerous in our area going in and out of where the turnabout is. It would make our living there a lot more difficult. The roundabout would be further impacted, as many other people have noticed. Many drivers already do not take turns, and they breeze through around the roundabout, and many people don't even know how to manage it. So it's difficult getting onto Middle Road or 53rd from our area to begin with. And also, as I said, the sports complex is already bringing more traffic to our area, and they're continuing to build more. We're very close, not even 3 or 4 minutes away from the sports complex. I know that it is good for business, and I know it's probably good for the people who are selling the property, but along with it, traveling along that route would make it a lot more difficult for all of us. I'd like you to reconsider the gas station, especially with the 10 pumps. Convenience store there without the gas station might be okay. However, I think that it would be adversely affected. Someone also said something about crime and safety, and I think that that would also be a big concern to most of us in that area. There are many farms and walking trails and bike trails that are close by. I think that also would bring, you'd have to do something about those trails to protect the pedestrians and the bike riders that are along that section of our housing area. I did send this letter of opposition, and I hope that you do consider some of these things.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I got a question.
Yep, all right.
David Dooley, 5313 Judge Road. I have a question with these big gas stations. Is this common to have to do a variance? And when was the last time you did a variance from 4 to 10?
I can answer that question. So the word variance is getting thrown around. This is not a variance. This is a special use. So to kind of talk about process, we have a table, a list of uses that are permitted in different zoning districts. Some are by right. You can go in, apply for it, build it. It's by right. Some are by special use. They take extra review by this board and permission by this board to be allowed. And then some are not allowed at all, which this board would not be able to allow. They would have to be rezoned to allow for that district. A variance would be something that is not being considered tonight. A special use permit for other gas stations. We've had all the gas stations, quite literally, that have been developed. So the Quick Star on Devil's Glen was approved by a special use permit. The Quick Star on 18th Avenue, or 18th Street and 53rd, special use permit. And go on, and those districts allowed by special use the gas station with 10 pumps.
So they went through the same process then?
Correct.
Okay, that's my question. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
I am Michelle Smythe, and I lived at 5185 Red Fox Road. I just want to say one thing. My grandson works at the Quick Star out by the triplex. I have never seen such a busy place in my entire life. I wait for him to come out. I pick him up. He's special needs. But anyway, he works there. There's people there all the time filling their cars up. And that Quick Star, I don't know, I think they're open all night long. So is this Quick Star going to be open all night long and the gas station open all night long? And you're going to have that all night for people? That's my one question. And they are so busy. If anyone doesn't believe it, just go out there and sit for 20 minutes. And I know you're getting the traffic from the interstate, but you're also getting traffic from other places in Bettendorf, and I do say it is a very, very, very busy place. Sometimes you can't even find a parking space to pick them up, so that's how busy it is. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Steve Ambrosi, 5258 Red Fox Road. I wanted to reiterate that point about the traffic at the roundabout. So I exit and re-enter that neighborhood every day, intentionally not using the roundabout. During those busy times, it borders on a racetrack. So now introducing a large C-store, gas station, car wash into that area, especially with the thought of primary right, left entrance and exit off of 53rd. I don't want to see what's going to happen with all the traffic going back and forth each way, trying to turn left out of there. My worst fear is people finally recognize that they could turn right out of there, and you guessed it, make a racetrack out of my street to get back to Middle Road, where they can actually get away from the roundabout. A left turn from that proposed entry exit will be nearly impossible, if not dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We have someone else.
Whoops, somebody
There's one
else.
more.
My name's Roberta Vidmar, and I think you have a copy of a letter that I did send. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it tonight. But I just have, and I live on Red Fox Road 5251. Is there a zoning situation that a 10-pump gas station can go into? Would that?
There's a couple, yeah, by right.
Okay, so why are we taking a C2 and putting and having to go through the special use? Now, I take it this does not go through council then, correct? It just goes to the board.
Tonight's decision doesn't go to council, no.
So once you've made the decision tonight, it's done.
But the appeal.
Where a rezoning would have to go through the full council.
Correct.
So this is kind of bypassing the council to change this so that something that could be in a higher zoning is going into the lesser zoning area. Thank you.
The zoning for this property allows a special use permit for this use. I mean, it's built into the zoning code for this property.
Right, but it's a way of getting around taking it to council.
No.
No, I
disagree.
That connotation isn't quite right, but I understand what you're trying to say. This decision doesn't go to council. The rest of this process goes through council. This decision tonight is just a special use on this particular piece of property. In this request, we don't determine what requests are being made. In other words, people have a right, you all have a right to make a request. And so then the request comes to us, and then staff reviews the request, and at some point, sometimes it comes to us to be ruled on, and that's where we're at right now.
You can refuse it.
Sure, we can say no.
That'd be great.
Okay, doesn't look like anybody else right at the moment, so the board, what's your pleasure? You have some questions for the staff on what's?
I do.
Okay, good.
So if we were not to pass this tonight, would the development go back to the original place that was approved? I was not at that meeting. I'm just asking because I know that there was probably as many people at that meeting. But if this was not approved for this special use in this new location, would the Quick Trip go back to the original one?
That's a question for the
I
applicant.
mean, I know it was not a Quick Shop.
Yeah.
I know it was not the same
Operator.
but I'm just asking, since that was approved, Is there an opportunity for that, for this to go back to the approved location?
Actually, the approval stands as of right now.
Right,
So in
'cause
other
we've not
words,
reversed it.
That's already in existence. So it is what it is, so to speak. And it would be up to the developer to come up, to determine whether or not they want to do something with that, that special use. Unless for some reason, I suppose, it got reversed itself. But as it stands right now, it is in existence.
It isn't approved,
It's approved at
Correct.
that location.
which is across the street.
Yeah, category, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the conditions that's being suggested is that if it gets approved here, that one would be disapproved, removed. Any other questions that anybody has? The issue, I guess, is the 10 pumps versus the 4 pumps, if you will, and the car wash versus no car wash.
Correct.
And we're voting on these together?
I think we'll have to vote on together. Can we do it together?
I would
Or
recommend
separately?
separately.
I think they have to
Separately?
be separate.
Yeah, I was gonna recommend that.
That's what I think should be done.
Is the reason that everything has gone to 10 pumps is because that's the economic viability limit? Or we don't know?
That's not right.
Guess that, but
Just-
it's, I'm not in the gas station business. I'm in the zoning business, so.
The C-store business has certainly changed over the last
Yes.
20 years significantly. Having been in it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the zoning hasn't changed in 20 years. It should stay the same. That's the way the housing was put there.
I just,
I don't think that zoning has changed. The right to this existed 20 years ago, and it just hasn't come up. And it's a factor of housing and, rooftops. It wouldn't come up unless there were rooftops, because there wouldn't be any reason to have a gas station there. So unfortunately, that's the problem. I'm sorry, go ahead, Gwen, you had something to say.
I forgot.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So we want to take these separately?
Yeah, I suppose the first issue is, was it the 10 pumps?
Car washes first.
Car washes first, I'm sorry. So then the first issue would be whether or not you would permit as a special use a car wash on this location.
I guess I have another question.
Go right ahead.
Maybe it's to Ryan. Obviously, Quick Start, Quick Trip has exploded in the Quad Cities. And when thinking about the bike path, because I live on Devil's Glen, and that Quick Shop crosses the bike path right there. I walk it all the time. You're always stopping for a car or whatever. They did put up those yellow barriers, and we all know why. Anybody who has tried to go left out of there, and just like the Starbucks. So, both of those have been created in the last year because of hazard. So I guess, when looking at this, if it doesn't go to 10, then it stayed at 8, and the car wash, I mean.
Where it's at.
8 cars, but 4 pumps.
4 pumps.
4
8,
pumps
yeah.
versus 10 pumps.
Yes, yes.
Right.
So 8
20
cars
cars
versus
versus
20.
So I guess that maybe is my question, is that this is 4 versus 10, nothing in between. They would have to come back for a special use permit to go to 8?
Yes.
Yes.
No?
If we granted 10, and in the rest of this development process, they were to change this around to 8, that would be permissible, because it would be less than the 10 that we permitted. So in their development, they might change some of that because of input from the city, because of drainage, because of access problems, all those kinds of things which will be discussed after us.
Right, so it's up to 10?
Correct.
Is basically what we're approving?
Correct.
And then the other question is, are any of these new Quick Trips and are they, do any of them not have a car wash? And I'm thinking specifically of the one on 53rd and Davenport on the edge of.
It does.
That one, it does?
It does, yeah.
Because I don't know them all, but what about out by TBK?
Yeah.
It does, okay. Yes,
When I found out
Go back
about
to-
the car wash and stuff, I went over to the,
You want to do me a favor and go back to the back again? I'm sorry. But that's the rules.
when I found out about this, I went over and stood at the AAA office on 53rd and 18th, which faces across the street from the car wash. Stood in their lot, car went through there. You were thought you're out on a runway in an airport when those dryers turned on. That's how much noise they generate. I know you're not gonna go do that tonight, but sometime go over there sometime and just see how loud they are.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I gotta say one more thing. Ian Ambrosi, I've noticed with the quick stars, and there may be some that I'm not noticing, but they seem to have areas where you can get to a light. Like on Belmont, you can go out and get to a light. They don't want you going out where the strips are. So you can get to a light. I'm trying to think of, all of them that I've been to, but they always seem to have a way to go this way or a way to go that way. Sometimes 3 different ways, like when you're coming out of the car wash there on Belmont. This is not gonna have that. This is way too close to the roundabout. We can't get out on Red Fox Road during busy hours, so we'll go to the roundabout to get out. You can't get out on Red Fox Road during busy times. So how would you get out even closer to the roundabout? And when you're coming through the roundabout from Davenport, we have to get over in the right lane to turn onto Red Fox Road. Cars are whipping around. We can't hardly get over there to turn onto Red Fox Road, and you're gonna stick a driveway in between there. So we're gonna need a turn lane, because that's gonna have to happen. But there aren't gonna be 2 good exits to get out of this thing. And the other quick stars have lights and other exits. These are gonna be 2 very, very awful places to be exiting out of here. And you've already put the things up on Devil's Glen because it just was a problem. So this is really, really going to be an issue. Thank you.
I will say on the Devil's Glen issue, it was a right in, right out issue, had nothing to do with this particular problem, and that's why they were put there. Because it was part of the requirement of that subdivision and that development was that those entrances were right in, right out or whatever. And so, and people were jumping the curb, so to speak, and going the wrong way, so that's why they were put in. So. Okay. Unfortunately, this property is going to ultimately be developed and there's going to be ingress and egress at these locations or pretty similar to these locations, no matter what gets put in there. So, and that'll be something that in the future, no matter what goes in there, the city council and the plan and zone are going to have to wrestle with. So, anything else? Anybody have anything, a motion to approve or deny the car wash, which I think is the first issue?
I'll move that we, regarding case 23008, southeast corner 53rd Avenue and Middle Road, that we approve the car wash associated with a convenience store.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Tansy,
Yes.
Tombergs,
no,
Vermillion.
Yes.
Okay. Second issue is the gas pumps, and the request is for 10 pumps, 20 cars. I guess at this point, the motion would be to either approve that or deny that, because we haven't had anything in between.
Yeah, I
I
would just,
suppose maybe somebody could make a motion to approve 8, for instance, or something else.
yeah, you have the authority to
Right.
provide conditions. And I would think that the original motion included
You're correct.
the
Yeah,
condition we
that's-
talked about originally, which is the
Withdraw.
revocation, reversal of decision on the car wash and gas station to the north and west of this.
Thank you for the clarification. That is correct. Okay, well,
But go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve case 23009 for a special use permit to allow the gas sales of 10 pumps. And that's all that's on this one, right?
subject to the same conditions.
Yes, subject to the same conditions.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second for 10 pumps.
Yes.
Any discussion, questions? If not, roll call.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Tansey?
Yes.
Tom Burks?
No.
Vermillion?
Yes.
Okay, so both of them pass. Nothing further to come before us tonight, then I guess we're adjourned.